evening, and welcome to the Tahoe Truckee Unified School District Board meeting of November 15th. At this point, there is no public comment on the closed session items, so we will adjourn to closed session. No reportable action. Moving on to, Ms. Loomis, do you mind starting us off with the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Superintendent Kramer, are there any changes to the agenda this evening?
President Driller, there are no changes to the agenda.
Thank you. Would there anyone care to make a motion to approve the agenda as presented? I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Oh, sorry. Thank you. Now we're moving to 7.0, public comment. Thank you for those of you that have filled out forms, and just so you know, it will be 3 minutes for your comments, and if anything is relating to an issue that's on our board, I will put it there, but it looks like they're all just public comments. So at this point, you can use this lectern up here, please, and just make sure the green button is on. And Brian Schnick, and then Jana Palmer, you'll be next. Brian, thank you. Just want to say that it is cold outside. What are you doing with the t-shirt on? All right. Thank you. Okay, so Jana, and then after Jana, Lillian. Oh, Lillian, right after you. Oh, do you want to go after your dad? No, let's skip it. Okay, let's have Jana. Jana, thank you.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Jana Palmer, and I'm a junior at Truckee High School and the social media coordinator for the Tahoe Youth Action Team. I want to share an opportunity for the school district to reduce its environmental impact through adopting a sustainability procurement policy and share an example resource. Green purchasing policies exist to guide businesses when acquiring materials, supplies, and services, and selecting such products based on their impact on the environment and human health. They consider, in addition to the carbon footprint of purchases, like durability and an eventual end-of-life outcome. In 2021, the Truckee Town Council adopted the Sustainable Purchasing and Practices policy to shift internal procurement towards more sustainable products and services. This policy was updated on June 27, 2023, and aims to complement and support the town's sustainability goals and objectives. It includes environmental guidelines for practices and purchases relating to facilities, fleet, food service, office operations, roads and snow, and information technology. By adopting a sustainability procurement policy like the town of Truckee's, the school district can significantly reduce their environmental impact and support the green market. This would also have the potential to increase operational efficiency in purchasing and improve employee and student health by buying less toxic materials. While the school district has engaged in impressive sustainability initiatives in the past and is continually held to California's environmentally progressive building codes, I think that adopting a green purchasing policy would help guide the district in more coordinated, sustainable procurement. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much for that. I'm just writing quick. Policy. Okay, thank you. Awesome. All right, thank you very much for that. And Lillian, and following Lillian would be Kira.
Hello, I'm Lillian Schnick, an 11th grader at Truckee High School, and I would like to thank the district for hosting a public meeting about the facilities plan. I would also like to thank the district for placing a focus on sustainability within their new plans. Thank you.
Well said, and no notes? Nice work, Lillian. Thank you very much for that. And Kira, you can bring notes.
Sorry. Good evening. My name is Kira Scott, and I'm a senior at Truckee High School and the president of the Tahoe Youth Action Team. I'm here tonight to talk about what I see as an opportunity for the school district to further support student learning while also helping our country prepare for a clean energy transition. CTE pathways, or career technical education, as I'm sure you know, help equip students with the knowledge and skills necessary to succeed in a post-secondary or workforce environment. Because of these pathways, TTUSD is in a unique position to facilitate education to employment opportunities based on the needs of our community. At Truckee High, CTE pathways are currently limited to engineering, culinary, onboarding, and welding, but they're required to graduate. And at the same time, there's a national shortage of many jobs required for the successful transition from a fossil fuel to clean energy economy, including plumbers, electricians, solar installers, wind turbine technicians, etc. And these jobs are among the jobs with the highest projected growth rates in the coming decade. To effectively increase our reliance on renewable energy while decreasing our use of fossil fuels, we need to bridge the gap between supply and demand for these jobs. And one example of a CTE program that prepares students for these high-demand occupations is the Connecticut Technical Education and Career System, also called CTECS. and it offers high school students in Connecticut over 30 different CTE pathways across 11 different sectors with specific programs in electrical, plumbing, HVAC, etc. And this is only one of an abundance of emerging CTE curriculum programs across the country that support students in learning technical education skills needed in today's workforce. For the benefit of a clean energy economy and for TTUSD students, I encourage the district to explore the possibility of expanding CTE programs to include training in the renewable energy design and just general green sectors. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for that, Kira, and thanks for referencing the ones that were already going on. Connecticut, East Coast. East Coast, we're all ahead back there. Okay,
Moon shining, by the way, ladies. Very nice.
And there's the last one. Thank you for that. And, okay, thank you. Oh, good. Thank you. Then we'll move on to 8.0 Superintendent's Report. Superintendent Kramer.
Thank you, President Driller. Well, I want to start off by congratulating our fall sports teams at both high schools. They've had an amazing season. At both schools, we had teams make it to playoffs and to state, and we have one more big game this Saturday for our Truckee football team. But I know that this successful season is thanks to the dedication of the coaches and our families. So I'd like to give a shout out to our athletic directors at both high schools that keep the teams going, keep everything scheduled, support the coaches, and thanks to the families for the unwavering support of their athletes. And it's just been an incredible fall season. And we're excited for our winter sports, which have already started. And then a couple of updates about our strategic plan. As you know, we have the 3 priority areas: the academic achievement, the support systems, and community connections. And you're going to hear a great update by Assistant Superintendent Maloney for the academic achievement later in tonight's meeting when she reviews the school accountability plans. Those plans include strategies for how our school sites provide effective, evidence-based instruction for all students, which is one of our priority areas for academic achievement. And then in support systems, one priority area is student voice, encouraging and increasing student voice. And last week, 4 of us on the governance team and 3 cabinet members had the opportunity to attend the Community Collaborative of Tahoe Truckee's annual youth forum. It was a great event. It provided a space for our students to openly discuss the challenges they're facing and things that are going well, and to provide possible solutions. Our students were very well spoken. We had TTUSD students participating from all 3 of our high schools. And one key takeaway I had from the forum was our youth's strong desire for community spaces where they can gather and plan fun activities. So special thanks to the Community Collaborative and the Mountain Gateway Center for organizing the youth forum. It was excellent. And then in community connections, one of our action items is enhancing outreach and partnership with families. And we're fortunate to have a team participating this year, last year, and next year at a state-level community engagement initiative. And our team is digging into how to engage our parents consistently and actively. So oftentimes we'll do outreach, we'll increase parent participation at a meeting, and then at the following meeting it falls off again. So we're really reflecting on our practices and how to consistently have our families participate. So we have 2 pilot school sites. North Tahoe School and North Tahoe High School are participating in this and trying out new things at their different community events to increase parent engagement. And then the goal is by the end of this school year to have some different ideas that we can then try out district-wide next year. So it's kind of a 3-year pilot, but very excited to hear from that team. And they presented to our district leadership team last week. And then in closing, I just want to wish the entire community just a wonderful Thanksgiving holiday and enjoy the time with family and friends.
Thank you for that. The youth forum was awesome. Moving on to 9.0 resolution. We have two, and I'll send it right back to you, Superintendent Kramer.
Yes, for both of these, we will be turning to our Executive Director of Student Services, Dr. Anna Marie Cohen.
Thank you, Superintendent Kramer, President Driller, Board of Trustees, and community. National Special Education Day is observed annually on December 2nd. This day marks the anniversary of our nation's first federal special education law, which was signed by President Gerald Ford on December 2nd, 1975. This law made education available to all American children, and it provided the foundation for the highly specialized and inclusive programs that we have today. TTUSD would like to take this opportunity to formally acknowledge our team of special educators by recognizing December 2nd as our fourth observance of Special Education Day. As this is an annual adoption previously read into record, it is the staff's recommendation the Board of Trustees approve Resolution Number 8, 2023-2024, recognition of National Special Education Day and Special Educator Appreciation.
Thank you for that, Dr. Cohen. Does the public have any comment on Resolution Number 8? Board comments or questions? Okay, bringing it back for a motion. Would anyone like to make a motion to approve?
I'm happy to move for the resolution to recognize National Special Education Day and Special Educator Appreciation.
I'll second. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. And then 9.2, Superintendent Kramer.
Yes, Dr. Cohen, please.
Thank you. TTUSD provides a state preschool program at Truckee Elementary School through funding from the state of California. Beginning this year, the school board is required to pass a resolution to authorize the superintendent and chief learning officer to sign the application. The amount of funding will be determined upon review of the application. It is staff's recommendation the Board of Trustees approve the continued funding application resolution for California State Preschool Program Contract, otherwise known as CSPP.
Thank you. Public comment? Seeing none. Board, would anyone like to make a motion to approve Resolution 9?
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 9, 2023-24, authorizing superintendent to sign application for continued funding for the California State Preschool Program.
Thank you. Was there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Thank you. Now, 10.0 donations, Superintendent Kramer.
Yes, for this, we will turn to our Assistant Superintendent of Educational Services, Mrs. Logan Maloney.
Thank you, Superintendent Kramer. President Driller and Board of Trustees, Truckee Elementary PTO is generously providing a donation of $15,300 to complement the purchase of classroom materials for all Truckee Elementary classrooms. This is a distribution of funds raised from the school's Fall Pumpkin Patch fundraiser. It is staff's recommendation that the board accept this generous donation for Truckee Elementary teachers from their PTO. Are there any questions or comments from the board?
15,300. Any public comment? Wow. Board? I will make a comment, though, quickly. Oh, Danielle, go.
I was going to say wow also.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so then that is for all grades. So that's phenomenal. That's really fun. Again, we always say this, but donations are huge in our community, but that's a lot of community support. And I think we had another comment about Kings Beach as well. I think that there's just a whole new rejuvenation of what's out there. But that's a lot. Thank you very much for that. Anyone have any comments further? I'll make a motion to accept that donation from Truckee PTO, and congrats.
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. And moving on to another wonderful thing, a grant, 11.0.
Yes, and for this, we'll return to Mrs. Maloney also.
Thank you. The Alder Creek Middle School Parent-Teacher Organization is generously providing a grant in the amount of $1,000 to assist in the purchase of 15 VEX IQ robotics kits to offer a robotics course through the school's ACES electives program. Vex IQ is a snap-together robotic system which offers a flexible platform on which students can design, construct, code, and operate robots to complete simple and complex tasks. This program aims to provide a positive and empowering experience that will prepare and inspire them to join the robust robotics club at the high school level and even pursue opportunities in STEM fields in the future if they're interested. It is staff's recommendation that the board accept this generous grant for Alder Creek's robotics kits from the PTO. Are there any questions or comments?
Thank you for that. Any public comment? And any board comments or questions? Yeah, we didn't get robotics in 7th grade. That is awesome. Would anyone care to make a motion for the grant 11.1?
Go ahead.
I'll make a motion to accept the grant from ACMS PTO for the Alder Creek Middle School 7th grade robotics class.
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. That is great job from both those PTOs. And the next item is a public hearing. So at this point, I will close the regular TTUSD board meeting and open the public hearing, and we will address 12.1. Superintendent Kramer.
And for this, we'll ask our Executive Director of Human Resources, Mr. Mike Shepard, to make a few comments.
Thank you, Superintendent Kramer, President Driller, members of the board, and staff and community. This allows the public to comment on our proposed openers from TTUSD to the Classified School Employees Association, Chapter 383.
Thank you. And public comment? Jane, how do you feel? Any board questions on that one as well? Okay. We do need, this is just information, so we do not need to make any action items. So then let's move to 12.2.
Mr. Shepard?
This portion of the public hearing is to allow the public to comment on CSEA Chapter 83's proposed openers to the district.
Thank you. And I think Jane's good with that. And then no questions from the board?
Nope.
At this point, then we'll close the public hearing and we'll reopen the regular board meeting, and we'll get to 13.0, which is negotiations, which I think has reference to the public hearing. Superintendent Kramer.
Yes. Mr. Shepard, please.
Thank you. This is for the board to consider our TTUSD's initial proposals to CSEA Chapter 383, and the openers that we are proposing are Article 3, Hours of Employment, Article 14, Holidays, Article 16, Wages, Article 17, Health and Welfare Benefits, and Article 19, Hiring. And with that, I'll entertain any questions you have.
Public is all set? And just looking at it, does any board member have any questions on this? Seeing none, we will then move on to making a motion for that 13.1 negotiation item. Would anyone care to make a motion?
I'll make a motion. I'm going to work it off the staff report. So it's to approve the district's initial proposal to the, with the CSCA.
Perfect. Thank you. Anyone care to make a second on that?
I'll second.
And a motion? I mean, a approval?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. And then 13.2, I'll send that back to you, Superintendent Kramer.
Yes. Mr. Shepard?
Yes, these are CSEA Chapter 383's initial proposals to the district. They are opening Article 14, Article 6, Article 16, Appendix A, Article 17, Article 22, Article 12, and Article 15. And with that, I'll entertain any questions that you have.
Public comment on any of those items? And did anyone have any questions on what CSEA was sunshining? Okay, that is actually an action item as well. So would there be a motion to approve the consideration of the public notice?
I'll move to accept the initial proposal from CSEA.
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 And aye. Thank you for that. Thanks for getting all that taken care of. The consent agenda, I didn't get a chance to do this earlier, but I do, before we get to the consent agenda, I might ask just to have clarification on the personnel report. But does the board or the staff have any items to pull?
The staff does not. Would you like to?
I just
pull the
have a
personnel?
clarification. Do I need to pull it or just ask a clarification? All I was asking, I mean, I can do that right now. It's just that when we're looking at the classified employees, and it says that we have one new person for Lake Tahoe Elementary, and I'm assuming it's Tahoe Lake Elementary. The wording is on the personnel action, it just says Lake Tahoe Elementary.
Okay.
But I'm thinking it's Lake or Tahoe Lake. Okay,
Yes, we'll get that corrected. Thank you.
okay,
Yes.
okay, sorry. With that, would anyone care to make a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented with the
Thank you.
grammar or the correction on the school name. Thank you.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye, thank you. Okay, thank you for that. So now we're moving on to 16.0, educational services, and that will go to Superintendent Kramer.
Yes, and then Mrs. Maloney will share the presentation.
Thank you, Superintendent Kramer. Board of Trustees, tonight I am presenting the 2023-2024 Single Plans for Student Achievement, SPSAs. The SPSA is a document that represents a school's cycle of continuous improvement of student performance. The annual process of developing, reviewing, and updating the SPSA includes a comprehensive review of data and the development of plan strategies and/or actions necessary to achieve school goals. The objective of this presentation is to show the through line, which are the common and consistent elements present for all TTUSD school sites and how the district's strategic planned actions will directly affect students in the classroom. It is. I'll bring my principal voice. Our first focus area in the district's strategic plan is academic achievement, and the SPSA goals 1, 1A, and 2 analyze academic achievement data in English language arts, math, and growth on the LPAC for our English learners, so that all students will graduate from our TTUSD schools. Last week, I presented the spring 2023 CASP data that will be on the California dashboard for TTUSD. Tonight, I will present how instructional leaders with their staff are analyzing and using last week's data to study and plan their strategies for student achievement this school year. This is a visual to see the alignment between our strategic plan focus areas and how site goals and action analysis directly impacts all of our work. The steps in the green box indicate the SPSA process. For the SPSA's Goal 1, sites are using the CASP ELA as a metric to analyze their planned strategies with a focus on the English learner subgroup. Notice the through line on the left, a double-headed arrow to represent a two-way relationship, movement and connection in both directions. Meaning that when instructional leaders complete a plan, do, study, act cycle, PDSA cycle that you see on the left, with their teachers, they study student artifacts to measure whether the implemented strategy listed on the left of the slide made an impact on the department, sites, and ultimately the district's plan goal. In English language arts, teachers are implementing academic discourse practices in all classrooms to study student evidence, whether those specific Tier 1 strategies increase student achievement on class assessments, common grade level assessments, and then the CASP. Similarly, when using a new reading diagnostic assessment listed on the right, CAPD, under secondary, that assesses individual reading skills, we will study whether it affects an increase in overall reading scores on the CASP and the STAR reading assessment. All sites are using the math CASP as a determination of success for all student subgroups in Goal 2. To meet the math CASP goals district-wide, we must continue first recruiting and retaining educators and staff as listed in our strategic plan focus goal. In addition, we're offering high-quality professional learning, collaboration, and resources this year with the Math Pilot instructional materials, curricula, and lessons in action by the trainers to support teachers' growth and development and see an impact on student goals. In addition to our district-wide plan strategies, elementary schools will analyze how differentiated instruction, such as offering accelerated learning opportunities, will impact student achievement. And as I alluded to last week, high schools have decided to administer the updated math interim assessment blocks this school year to provide district common formative data to drive instruction. The SPSAs address the whole student and includes support systems from our strategic plan and then specifically at the site level in the classroom to positively impact the schools and the district's climate and culture goals. A multi-tiered system of support with a focus on social, emotional, and behavioral needs of all students will positively impact Goal 3 for all sites, which is to have all students in TTUSD identify a caring connection with an adult on campus. Sites are all using social emotional learning activities in their classrooms to build genuine relationships. All schools are using many of the same plan strategies to increase the number of students in school each day and decrease suspensions to meet Goal 3. To do this, a focus on restorative practices at every site will allow students to work with administrators to understand the impact their behavior had on others and how to make it right. Dr. Cohen, our Executive Director of Student Services, will present later tonight on our new plan strategy to use a program called Attention to Attendance to decrease our percent of chronic absenteeism. To support the district strategic plan focus area 3, community connections, and inclusion at all of our sites, all elementary and middle schools are able to choose their own school focus Goal 4 in their SPSAs. High school is required to focus on college, career, work, and life readiness. So in Goal 4, Tahoe Lake Elementary is continuing to enhance their school's hands-on and environmental science focus by planning to use partnerships with the community resources to include SWEP and TINS. They will measure the impact of the precious resources using the California Science Test results. All other elementary schools are using a social emotional screener called DESA to evaluate whether our planned social emotional activities from Goal 3 are working, such as the new wellness centers and using the nurtured heart approach in classrooms. Middle schools have their own focus Goal 4 as well. Alder Creek remains committed to our district literacy plan and will re-engage their staff literacy team to evaluate what predominant strategies are working for specific subgroup populations, like our socioeconomically disadvantaged and English learners. North Tahoe School will specifically address the use of the new middle school online platform called Jump Rope that reports standards reference grading and will analyze student achievement with the use of this new resource. As stated before, Goal 4 is required by the state for all high schools, and it must use the state's College Career Indicator dashboard to study the plan strategy's impact. I linked the state's College Career Indicators in the speaker notes of this presentation for your review. One indicator is that all high school graduates should complete a career technical education pathway with a grade of C or better in the capstone course. TTUSD remains committed to offering multiple CTE pathways and is working on CTE articulation TK12 to teach hard and soft skills to prepare students for college, career, trade, technical, and the workforce. All high schools continue to use student voice to create and offer additional electives to best prepare them for life. College career readiness courses touch on financial aid understanding, college essay writing, and more. Adulting course includes units on tax preparation, buying a house, and even raising a child. GRIT, which is a college development program, has now expanded to Truckee High after seeing success at North Tahoe High for the last 8 years. It is exciting to see this district's strategic plan alignment in all the site's SPSAs, and we have worked hard to create it. We are all committed to providing effective, evidence-based instruction and studying student work and assessment results to learn and achieve. All students' personal interests are in mind when site and district goals and strategies are planned. We are choosing strategies to engage and empower students to achieve their potential and being honest if they're not working. We will report again on what we have learned in our district goal mid-year presentation in January 2024. It is staff's recommendation that the board approves all of TTUSD sites 2023-2024 SPSAs. Thank you, and are there any questions or comments from the board?
Thank you for that, Assistant Superintendent Maloney. Whew. Board, or public comment. And board, did anyone have any comments on any of the SPSAs?
I'll just make a comment that although I was aware of these plans, I had never read them in the detail that I read them in. And it was funny, it was going through my mind as I was reading them that they're kind of like a report card, which so I think it's helpful for parents if you have questions about your school sites to wonder what's happening. The schools are assessing themselves. So I think it's a really useful tool. I've already distributed them to several parents just saying, hey, I think you'd be interested in this, which then sparks conversation with more people about what's happening. But I appreciate just the level of work that goes into preparing these. And I feel like your presentation really just highlighted how cohesive everything is within the district too. So I just wanted to recognize that.
I would just thank you for answering my question earlier, and I would, I'm noticing, and I noticed this at the beginning when we were given these, but that the old name, the accountability plan, is no longer the name, and it just, as you were just saying that you read them, I realized, oh, I mean, how many times have you said the name to these reports? And I just realized that the name accountability is gone from these reports, but the level of reporting and holding themselves accountable and now being funneled to the district office for presentation is very much appreciated from this board member. But good work to all of the schools, and thank you for the concise report. It's helpful.
Okay, no worries. Thank you. I will also echo that. One, thank you very much for giving the principals the time off, and I appreciate the fact that they did all of this. And I think Kirsten had recognized that earlier, that we used to have 2 days of these. And it's not like we don't appreciate it or need it, and I think I like what you just said. It's a report card for the schools. And I appreciate the fact that you sent that out. Like, that's such a great tool to give to somebody who's asking, what is our school doing? Concise, they're they're all on the same sort of matrix of what they're giving us for information. But I also think that it takes a lot of work, but it is how we are keeping track of what we're doing, and aligning it to the strategic plan is awesome, and the fact that every school has sort of put in the same amount of information so that we're all, if I were to leave Kings Beach Elementary and go to Tahoe Lake, my information would still be there, and I think that is something that is awesome. But I do appreciate the amount of time that these principals have done to keep up with their accountability. I mean, it is, but I like the name is not.
Yeah, and I think between the lines, what I don't want to get lost is that, I mean, we're constantly asking teachers to pivot, right? We have different pilots, we have different programs, and it's just incredible. They just rise to that level of, okay, we're gonna try it. And I'm thoroughly always impressed with our district. I love this district so much, and I do miss the principals presenting for themselves, but I would never ask them to do that again. But there's just so much work represented, it just blows my mind. Yeah, and I don't know why I feel compelled to say this, but I realize too that when they go home, they're still working. I just want to say that. It's probably not, anyway, yeah, thank you.
Pat? Okay, thank you very much for that, Logan, that was great. And moving on to 17.0. Oh, my Lord. All that being said, would anyone care to make a motion to our action item of 16.1? I'll make a motion to approve all of the SBSAs that were presented this evening.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Thank you very much for that, Superintendent Kramer. And we'll now move on to 17.0, Student Services. Superintendent Kramer.
Yes, Dr. Cohen.
Thank you. Tonight's presentation is an information item, and it is an expansion and deeper dive into the current state of attendance within TTUSD. Attendance and chronic absenteeism are a major focus as the district is working towards academic achievement improvement, English learner achievement, students with disabilities achievement, and instructional practices alignment. During the last board meeting, Assistant Superintendent Logan Maloney gave a brief overview of TTUSD chronic absenteeism data, and tonight highlighted attention to attendance as a planned strategy within the SPSAs. Tonight's presentation will explore TTUSD data and attention to attendance as a mechanism to address attendance and chronic absenteeism district-wide. Tonight's objectives are to understand how the state tracks and monitors attendance, defines absenteeism, looks at local data, and review the TTUSD plan for tiered intervention utilizing attention to attendance. Attention to Attendance is a tracking and monitoring student information system platform that assists with notifications and educational attendance campaigns and helps with the implementation of a multi-tiered system of supports to address attendance concerns. The importance of school attendance cannot be overstated. When students miss school, they miss instruction, and there is an increased likelihood of academic struggles, disengagement, and poor post-secondary outcomes. When attendance issues are proactively addressed, research has shown schools that make progress in improvement of their accountability systems and increase family and student engagement will see improvement in academic achievement, decreases in suspension rates, and improvement in school climate and culture measures. Chronic absenteeism may prevent children from reaching early milestones, necessitating the need to intervene and begin to address attendance issues as early as possible. Students who are chronically absent in TK, K, and first grades are less likely to read at grade level by third grade. Students who cannot read at grade level by the end of third grade are 4 times more likely to drop out of high school. Chronic absenteeism is defined by the state as being absent 10% or more of the school days in the school year. This information is tracked and monitored by our student information system, ARIES, and is submitted to the statewide student information system, CalPADS. CalPADS data is then presented to the public through the California dashboard, which shows K-8 absenteeism data, and DataQuest, which houses K-12 data. This is a comparison of chronic absenteeism developed and presented at our combined Educational Leadership Committee and Special Education Advisory Committee meeting 2 weeks ago. This comparison shows all of the school districts in Placer County for both the 2022 and 2023 school years. TTUSD's chronic absenteeism falls below the statewide average and above the Placer County average at 18.8% and 22.1% respectively. Our goal is to lower these rates for all students, and more specifically our students with disabilities, our homeless youth, and our Hispanic and Latino groups. Oops. I think I had a hidden slide that showed up, sorry. ATSI, Additional Targeted Support and Improvement, is a designation from CDE when specific student groups are not meeting statewide targets. CDE has identified 4 schools in TTUSD for additional target support for chronic absenteeism, indicating we need to develop targeted plans to show improvement for specific student groups. Additionally, TTUSD is working to improve the academic achievement of English learners and students with disabilities. Academic achievement and chronic absenteeism are inextricably linked, and decreasing the absenteeism rates should have a direct impact on the academic achievement outcomes of students. This slide is informational on how schools are selected for eligibility for ATSI. It is important to remember for the purposes of ATSI to know that targeted student groups are identified for improvement, and each school plan for student achievement must include a plan for student performance based on statewide indicators and long-term goals, include evidence-based interventions, and identify resource inequities that may exist within the district and subsequently addressed through implementation of school improvement plan and the SPSA. In this next part of the presentation, we will look more in depth at our local data. Here is the TTUSD chronic absenteeism data as reported to CDE through CalPADS. Of notable concern are the rates among our Hispanic, English learner, and socioeconomically disadvantaged student groups. California dashboard data represents K-8 attendants who are absent 10% or more of the instructional days they were enrolled. Our English learners, Hispanic students with disabilities, socioeconomically disadvantaged, and homeless youth are missing over 20% of their school year and instructional opportunities. It is important to note that students identified as socioeconomically disadvantaged have been inconsistently tracked since the pandemic, as free and reduced lunch forms were previously used, but with universal meals in place, there has not been a consistent mechanism for obtaining this information. This graph shows the data from the earlier slide broken down without the other Placer County school districts included. As you may recall, 2019, 2020, and 2020-2021 school years were held harmless for absenteeism due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Looking at data by the reason students are absent can help us identify data anomalies, record keeping and absenteeism tracking and reporting, and areas to intervene. Understanding reasons for both excused absences and unexcused absences can provide us information on where we need to target and provide specific interventions. Education provided to families and students are key in decreasing absenteeism rates. Having families understand the impact of successive years of absences on academic performance can help in decreasing days out of school. Engagement strategies and intentional, consistent messaging can reinforce the importance of attendance in school. The power of utilizing our student information systems can help us identify absence trends and tailor our messaging to our families. These graphs show the trends since the start of this school year. This data is pulled from Aries and shows a true accounting of absences each day since August 29th. As you can see, Fridays and Mondays show spikes in absences consistently since the beginning of the school year. One of our goals should be to target improved attendance on Fridays and Mondays. The recognition of attendance and identification of chronic absenteeism is an area of need for systemic and systematic improvement, and led TTUSD to evaluate possible targeted interventions that would lead to strategies and a targeted plan for improvement. One intervention identified was attention to attendance, an attendance monitoring intervention and education platform that provides Tier 1, 2, and 3 interventions. We have made a 3-year commitment to utilization of the platform and resources in order to target and combat absenteeism. Once identified as a priority, we committed funds designated for learning recovery and intervention as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. The funds were required to be committed and expended by the end of the 22-23 fiscal year. The analytics provided through Attention to Attendance platform allow for us to gather district-wide and site-level information. This graph allows for us to identify the specific students who are considered chronically absent and intervene on an individual basis. Each site can look at their individual data, identify students, and begin to individually reach out to families and develop plans to support students based on their individual needs. Attention to attendance allows for us to identify patterns of absences. For example, we can identify days in which there are above average absences and look further into specific students as well as look for patterns for those specific students. Although this information could be found in Aries, we could not quickly drill down to the individual student level. This program is allowing us to personalize interventions much more effectively and rapidly. We can identify the percentage of students who are chronically absent, and we can identify the site and grade level. It should be noted that the scale of data presented on the next few slides does not reach 100% on the y-axis, and therefore is enhancing the data. This is a default within the Attention to Attendance website and the platform. Here you can see the percentage of students chronically absent across the district by grade level. As you can see here, we will need to target our first grade students and provide education about the importance of school attendance. Early education is very important. Attention to Attendance provides us with educational information we can utilize in our newsletters and our parent organizations to help with increasing awareness and the importance of school attendance every day. The importance of knowing who is absent is only one aspect of working toward attendance improvements. The most important piece of intervention is also the what are we doing to prevent chronic absenteeism. This begins with universal Tier 1 response, which includes reinforcing students who are attending, motivating students, and being intentional about teaching attendance habits. TTUSD is working on improving our tiered response, fine-tuning the universal, targeted, and intensive interventions. TTUSD is improving and expanding on their multi-tiered attendance support systems using best practices shared across the state. This is an example of a robust tiered system of interventions being refined to meet local needs. As discussed earlier, identification and education are the most important aspects of attendance improvement. When Tier 2 and Tier 3 interventions are needed, attention to attendance assists sites in automating the intervention process by sending truancy letters, excessive absence letters, and identifying sites of individual students who need follow-up, and including individual conferences and possibly subsequent referrals to SARB, our Students Attendance Review Board. This flow chart is for notifications. This is the flow chart for notifications sent by attention to attendance. Additionally, we are committed to having a robust and revamped SARB process. So TTUSD is working to develop a robust attendance management, education, and intervention system that will yield positive outcomes beginning this year. Attention to attendance is new, and we are continuing the utilization of the platform as well as providing to staff monitoring attendance at school sites and educating our community with increased notifications and education. We look forward to sharing our outcomes as we move forward. Are there any questions from the board?
Thank you for that. Board questions, comments? Pat?
Thanks for that. That was very informative and interesting as well. I see in the data that, especially like on the charts earlier on, I'm looking at the chronic absenteeism chart on, I'm not sure which, page 9. That includes unexcused and excused absences both. Is that correct?
I think so. Sorry, number my pages. 1, 2.
Can you go this?
9. Well, all of this.
Okay, yes. This would be, chronic absenteeism includes excused and unexcused. It's the total number of absences or the total number of days of missed instruction.
Okay, and thank you, and is at the secondary level, when students are absent for an approved school athletic event,
That is not,
they're in school,
yes,
although they're missing class?
correct. It is considered, a school activity is not considered an absent.
Sure, okay, that makes sense. And the truancy letter that is sent out automatically, which I think is great. I've been wishing for that for a long time. Okay, so those are for truancies. What about excessive excused absences? Is there such a thing?
Yes. So parents are also being notified because it is an area of concern. Our intervention process will look a little different than when we hold attendance meetings to determine why a student may be missing so much school for an excused absence. We always want to work with families and know if it's a medical issue, is it a family issue, so that we can help put supports in place even when a student has to be absent for an excusal.
Okay, great, thank you. Yeah, because I think there's as you said, that's an area of concern. I think that it would be interesting to see the data of how much class time is missed for secondary students due to athletics, both school-approved athletics and the great number of athletic events that our students go to that are not school-sponsored events, skiing, snowboarding, whatever the case may be. And I think that in our district, we have a real uphill battle with attendance, and I think this is going to address a lot of it, but it's not going to address that athletic issue. We're in a statewide league that covers from here to Elko and the rest of northern Nevada. And so it's just when our kids get on a bus to go to Elko or Spring Creek or wherever it might be, they miss a day of school, if not more. And as we know, our athletes are great athletes, and they go to state championships every year at the secondary level. And we know that several of the teams were in Las Vegas for I don't know how many days. And so there's some more instruction that is missed, even though those are technically they're in school, but they're missing classes. And then on top of that, we're in this beautiful recreational area where we have world-class athletes going to our schools. And they are missing many number of days as well in order to attend their events. And sometimes those are week-long things. So I'm just bringing this up to bring it to our attention that while this is great that we're making inroads on unexcused and truancies, unexcused absences, and excused absences, we have this other block of absences that are allowed but are still impacting our students' class time. And I'm not suggesting we eliminate athletics. Please stop emailing. But I mean, I think there's some solutions that perhaps need to be looked into to help the students that are missing these classes. I know we have a ski academy at North Tahoe and now at Truckee High, which I think has helped in that regard. But as far as travel goes for all of these students, I believe, I don't know, I think it was maybe years ago, I don't recall now, football games, basketball games, and baseball games where Truckee played Elko, they would meet in Winnemucca and play to eliminate travel for both teams rather than having to make that big trip across the state. Things like that, I think, can help cut down on lost classroom instruction time. It's not as fun because you don't have a home game that way, but anyway. But thanks for all that information. I appreciate it.
All right, and I look forward to bringing back data specifically around those topics that you brought up.
Yeah, thank you.
Danielle?
Yeah, it was just, this is such an interesting topic because I think a lot of parents don't really put those two things together of, gee, if my kid's out for an excused reason, that there's still an impact there. And I think the data that you provided of, 4 times more likely to drop out of high school if they're not able to read by 3rd grade, I mean, those are crazy statistics. And I think we do a good job of trying to recognize, and do intervention with that. But honestly, I think the parents probably are not as aware as they could be of how some of these absences really have long-term effects. And I always hear it at the high school level, like, oh, you've got to take your vacations, during the scheduled vacations because the high school kids are, working really hard to make sure that they're making their grades and, getting into the colleges that they want to get into. But it's less of an issue, I feel like, for parents when their kids are in the younger grades. When I look at this data, I feel like it's really the younger ages where it's a bigger issue because that's the point when the kids need more assistance. By high school, a lot of them have gotten into a routine, understand what they need to do to be self-sufficient, and they're self-driven to do things, or at least have the tools available for them to know what direction they're going in. But there's more independence at that age. So I just find this all so interesting in just trying to figure out how parents kind of become more aware of the impacts of this. Because I think it's just one of those things that you can't easily correct once that time frame has sort of slipped past. So I think it's great that we're addressing this as best we can, but I also think, frankly, parents just need to be more aware. And however we do that messaging is going to make, hopefully, parents become more aware and see where it goes. But yeah, it's a challenging issue for sure.
Thank you, Danielle. Chris?
I'm good, thank you.
And you're good? I wrote that same note down, Pat, as to we always try to celebrate where we live and what we've got going on here. And I did notice, obviously, that there's a lot of excused, 67% of excused absences, and then the number of days was, 8 to 12 or whatever of individuals. And I like the fact that we can individually track our children. But I echo what Pat referenced in terms of the two things. One, the kids that are on our traveling teams, and we have to celebrate that we have these great athletic and dance and musical entities within our district. How do we then support the children that are, and we found, I think before we did find that some of these athletic programs do have kids that are highly educated and they're well disciplined to get their homework done, and they do send things in on time. So that's a unique bucket, like our athletic, because I remember Nico and Sal Monfort were here and they had great scores, but they were gone for, like, the number of days they were gone was a lot. So I think it's commendable that we're we're doing the ski academies at both sites and that we're acknowledging that. And I do also wonder how we will track that they are missing it, but, how do we give them, and again, that was the other question, is the independent study program responsible for all these kids when they're gone? And is that something that we're putting so much on that independent study program? Will that allow us to have a lesser number of excused absences because they have their packet to go with them? And is that ever going to be something that, if I do go to Europe for the Olympics for 2 weeks, I can get my packet with me and I won't be marked as missing school, but I'm absent from the classroom? So I don't know how you navigate that. But I think that we are not going to be following the same trends that you'll see here just because we have a different, and we do have, not everyone else has a ski academy or a independent study program within their public schools. I don't know. I mean, this is info, so I mean, again, I appreciate, I will also say I really appreciate these kind of discussions where we have this opportunity for us to talk. And having just an info item is beneficial for us to be able to chit-chat on the diocese, because we don't always get to do that. So for what it's worth, thank you for doing that. But I do look forward to hearing, and maybe from either Laura with her independent study program and then just both high schools, what they think is another way of looking at what you just were talking about. Awesome. Wow. Any other comments? That was great. Jane, nothing? Okay, good. Just I want to miss out because I really appreciate that you're here. Okay, come up. Please come up. Oh, thank goodness.
Well, this is old stuff, though, huh, Logan? Yeah. Just, I stopped doing SARB in 2021. I was with Sierra High School. I retired in 2014, but I was still involved for many, many years. And we worked really hard doing new letters that parents could actually read and interpret. And we went to a lot of effort to make sure that parents got the information on their truancy letters about what was an excused absence, and I believe that has been very effective. When I left, one of the big things that we discussed was, it was more at the elementary level and middle level, how much independent study not completed was impacting the attendance. I saw, being involved with Coldstream, the high schoolers were really doing their job. It was very well structured. But that impact of unexcused absences at the elementary and middle school for independent study, and I don't know if that's been pulled out, if you have, what the impact was. That was just a question I had. And with the attendance too, one of the things I hope that will be addressed is tightening up on principal discretion on who gets letters and who doesn't, and really doing real tight training with the attendance clerks. We had a matrix, and the attendance too goes, this is how it's followed, this is who gets the letters. And especially really discussing with parents, well, it was an excused absence, yes, but you have excessive excused absences. Those were some really big issues for parents to try to unravel. And I think that was about it. Just your teachers work so hard for putting these independent study packets together, and we really honor parents and their wishes for travel. And it's really hard when a student comes back and they have absolutely no idea what's going on in the classroom. And so just, and how much it was impacting the attendance in the district. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Jane. Sorry. That was awesome. Thank you. And moving on to board business. Kirsten, I'm going to say, Kirsten, we're going to bypass you. Chris? She doesn't want to. She doesn't feel good. That's what she said.
Well, kind of to piggyback on this attendance conversation, some of us talk about how do we communicate, not better, because Amber does an amazing job within her position of communicating out to district families, but maybe more often or in different ways. And I really think it would be valuable for TTUSD to see if we can have a little corner at the Sierra Sun and Moonshine Ink, like once a month, like TTUSD Info Corner. And we could talk about things like the importance of, really, excused absences. That's a big deal. Again, like you said, parents probably aren't thinking that's a big deal because they're excused, right? So just a little communication opportunity, just a thought. And then you talked about it earlier, but I wanted to thank the Community Collaborative and Gateway for sponsoring the Youth Forum. It was my first one in like 4 or 5 years, and it was really, really great. I think that's all I have. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Chris. Danielle.
I was able to attend the Donner Trail fundraiser this last weekend. So, in among all the other fundraisers that were happening the same night between Rotary and everything else, it sounds like the community at large just came out for kind of every function that was going on this weekend. Football, everything. So I think it's just a reflection of how supportive, looking at these numbers that the PTOs are having for their fundraisers, it's just really remarkable. So I think that's hopeful. It just shows our community spirit and interest in supporting our students. So I find that really exciting.
Ask a personal question. Did you win anything in the raffle?
I might have gotten a hat. And I might have purchased a pair of tires, so.
Yahoo! That's
Thank you to Travis's Tire.
I want to echo what Danielle said. The items that were donated for the auction were amazing. I mean, the 4 tires from Truckee Tire, and there were many companies, businesses in town that did. I don't want to announce just one, but there were so many great donations. It was an impressive thing, and the sheer number of people that showed up was impressive as well. I mean, as Danielle said, the community really turned out, at least for that particular event. And I also wanted to, I went to the CCTT thing that Chris just mentioned, and I didn't know what it was about. I'll just show up and there's going to be kids talking or something. And then I realized we're going to be in groups, and I thought, oh, okay, now you got to like participate. But as I found out quickly, I was like prepared to like jump right in and talk to these kids. You just, the adults sit and listen. And go over a variety of topics and hear what the kids have to say. And it was extremely informative. And as Chris mentioned, and as Kirsten mentioned also, the kids were really well spoken. These were leaders in our community, and they weren't complainers. They had some very thoughtful observations and cogent thoughts about what was going on in our community, and things that, in their opinion, from their perception, needed to be addressed. That was good. So hopefully it'll make a difference.
Yes, student voice was huge at that point. That was great. I also attended and was pleasantly surprised what our youth were saying, and as Kirsten mentioned, needing a space to be able to be kids. One of the comments was that we love downtown Truckee, but there is nothing from one end to the other that I could go into under 18 or with a paycheck. I have no money to buy anything. So it was really interesting to hear them in their perspective. We think it's great because it's fun to walk through, but as a 15 to 18-year-old, and then not having a car, trying to get to these places, but not being able to do anything in that little town it was good to hear. I also attended the Kids Zone fundraiser with Kirsten at the Everline, and listening to what that Kids Zone has done for the community. We had people speaking of their experience as young children, and now they're adults in the community, people who have grown up with kids that needed time to play, and that Kids Zone was there for every different level. And I don't think everyone knows about what it is, but it was a life link for a lot of families. And this evening was a fundraising as well as information, but just a really cool group of people. They just were all about little kids. They have a new opening with Winnie the Pooh theme, which we all got little things of honey, which was great. And it's again, as Danielle just mentioned, testament to what we have in our community. We are small, we're remote, we're full of snow, but there's a bunch of different entities trying to make it work for all of us. The trustee dinner in Auburn, we were going to go, but it was our first potential storm day, and we decided we're going to stay on this side. I did attend the North Tahoe High School facilities master plan meeting, and learned a lot. The proposals were well presented, and it was just, it's amazing to see what the collective people in our community have put forth as ideas, and then we'll obviously move forward, with what we can do with that one. And then just a note that my Strider Glider program is starting up. I got skis together with the rest of the coaches, so we'll have, to continue our athletic programs here in Tahoe, we do have a kindergarten program now at the Strider Gliders, which these boots are about that big. It is wicked. Oh my goodness, it was awesome. So same thing with Chris, we are an amazing place, an amazing team of hardworking leadership team, as well as a very amazing board. And as the thankfulness goes on, I think we're all pretty thankful that we're here where we are. And happy Thanksgiving.